Hey friend, imagine for a moment that you're sitting right here with me on a quiet porch in a small town at dusk, the kind of evening where the crickets start singing and the weight of the day finally lifts. You've got a warm cup in your hands, and I'm looking straight at you, heart on my sleeve, because the story I'm about to tell you isn't just any story, it's the one that broke me, rebuilt me, and taught me that the deepest love sometimes grows in the soil of the greatest loss. Stay with me till the very last word, because by the end, I promise you'll feel something shift inside you, something hopeful, something that says even when everything shatters, you can still choose to begin again. This is the story of, can we? The question my best friend's sister whispered to me one rainy night, and the answer I gave that changed everything. In the sleepy town of Cedar Grove, Oregon, where the pine trees hugged the mountains like old friends and everyone knew everyone's secrets, Ryan Mitchell and Ethan Brooks had been inseparable since they were 7 years old. They shared scraped knees from bike races down Miller's Hill, late-night talks about their dreams under the stars, and a loyalty so fierce it felt like blood. Ryan was the quiet one with the steady hands and the kind eyes that could calm a storm. Ethan was the loud laugh, the dreamer who wanted to build houses that felt like homes. And then there was Hannah, Ethan's little sister, 2 years younger, with the same wild curls and a smile that could light up the darkest room. She was always tagging along, rolling her eyes at their boyish antics but secretly proud to be part of their little world. Life in Cedar Grove moved slow and sweet until the day everything changed. Ethan started coughing in the middle of football practice senior year. At first they joked it was just allergies from the pollen that blanketed the valley every spring. But the cough turned into nights of fever, and the fevers became trips to the hospital in the next county. The diagnosis came like a thunderclap on a clear day: stage 4 leukemia. The doctors spoke in soft voices about percentages and timelines, but Ryan only heard the part where they said, "We're going to fight this, son." Ethan fought harder than anyone had ever seen. He cracked jokes from his hospital bed, teasing the nurses and planning his next fishing trip as if the IVs in his arms were just temporary tattoos. Ryan never left his side. He'd drive the 40 minutes from work every single day after his shift at the lumber yard, bringing Ethan's favorite burgers even when Ethan couldn't keep them down. "You're not doing this alone, brother," Ryan would say, gripping Ethan's thinning hand. And Ethan would grin that crooked grin and reply, "Wouldn't dream of it without you, Ree." Hannah was there too, of course, quiet at first, then stronger than anyone expected. She'd sit on the other side of the bed reading Ethan his favorite comics, her voice steady even when her hands trembled. Ryan noticed the way her eyes would find his across the room during the worst nights, a silent agreement passing between them: "We will hold him up." Those hospital hallways became their second home. The smell of antiseptic, the beep of machines, the way the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry bees, it all blurred together into one long, aching season. Ethan's parents aged 10 years in 6 months. The whole town rallied with casseroles and prayer chains, but inside that sterile room it was just the three of them against the world. The night Ethan's condition took its final turn, rain hammered the windows like it was trying to break in. Ethan was barely conscious, his breathing shallow and labored. Hannah stepped into the hallway with Ryan, her shoulders shaking as she pressed her forehead against the cold wall. "Can we be strong enough for him?" she whispered, her voice cracking like thin ice. Ryan pulled her into his arms without thinking, feeling the weight of her grief against his chest. "We have to be," he answered, his own tears mixing with hers. "For him. Always for him." In that moment, something shifted deep inside Ryan, a tenderness he hadn't named yet, wrapped tightly in guilt and fear. He pushed it down hard. This was Ethan's sister. His best friend's little sister. Loyalty was the only thing that mattered. Ethan woke up one last time just before dawn. He was weak, but his eyes were clear. He looked at Ryan and Hannah standing together at his bedside and smiled the smallest, wisest smile. "Take care of each other," he rasped, squeezing their joined hands. "Promise me. Whatever happens, don't let this break you both." They promised through sobs. Hours later, Ethan slipped away peacefully, the machines falling silent one by one. The world went gray after that. The funeral was a blur of black umbrellas and choked eulogies. Ryan stood at the graveside with Hannah on one side and Ethan's empty place on the other, feeling like half his heart had been buried with his friend. Nights became endless. Ryan would wake up reaching for his phone to text Ethan some stupid joke, only to remember. Hannah stopped by his house sometimes, bringing coffee and sitting in silence on the porch steps because words felt too heavy. They didn't talk about the future. They barely talked at all. Grief had built a wall between them and the rest of the world, but slowly, quietly, it was also building a bridge between the two of them, one neither dared to cross. Months dragged on. Ryan threw himself into work, building decks and porches for people who still had tomorrows. Hannah went back to her job at the local library, organizing books like she was trying to organize her shattered thoughts. But every Sunday they found themselves at Ethan's grave, laying fresh flowers and sharing memories. "He'd hate how quiet it is without him," Hannah said one rainy afternoon, her voice soft. Ryan nodded, the guilt twisting tighter in his chest every time he caught himself noticing the way her hair curled when it was damp, or how her laugh, rare now, still sounded like home. He told himself it was wrong. He told himself he was betraying the promise he'd made to stand by Ethan's side forever. The town started whispering too. Poor Ryan, stuck looking after Ethan's sister. Isn't that a little too close? The rumor stung, but the real pain was the one he carried alone, the fear that if he let himself feel anything more, he'd lose the last piece of Ethan he had left. A full year passed before the wall between them finally cracked. It was another stormy night, almost exactly 12 months after Ethan's passing. Hannah showed up at Ryan's door soaked to the bone, eyes red from crying. "I can't do this anymore," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "I miss him so much it hurts to breathe. But I miss laughing. I miss feeling alive. And I feel guilty even saying that." Ryan made her tea with shaking hands, and they sat on the old couch where they used to watch movies with Ethan sprawled between them. For hours they talked, really talked, for the first time since the funeral. She told him about the nights she still set 3 plates on the table by accident. He admitted he still kept Ethan's old baseball cap on his dashboard like a talisman. The rain kept falling outside, but inside something warmer was growing. Then came the moment that changed everything. Hannah set her mug down and looked at him with those honest eyes that had always seen straight through him. "Ryan, can we," she whispered, her voice barely louder than the rain. "Can we stop pretending this is just grief? Can we try to be more than the 2 people Ethan left behind? Can we let ourselves be happy without feeling like we're stealing it from his memory?" The question hung in the air like lightning waiting to strike. Ryan's heart slammed against his ribs. Every reason to say no flooded his mind, the promise, the guilt, the whispers in town, the fear that loving her would mean forgetting Ethan. But then he remembered Ethan's last words, take care of each other. Not stay away. Not never. Just, take care. He reached for her hands, tears blurring his vision. "Yes," he said, his voice steady for the first time in a year. "Yes, Hannah. We can. And we will." Because he wanted us to live, not just survive. That single word, yes, was the answer that changed everything. The guilt didn't vanish overnight, but it began to loosen its grip. They took it slow, honoring Ethan every step of the way. They went for walks on the trails he loved, telling stories about him until laughter mixed with tears and felt like healing. They faced the town's whispers together, head high, until the whispers turned to smiles. Ryan rebuilt the porch swing Ethan had always talked about fixing, and Hannah planted wildflowers in the garden Ethan used to help their mom tend. Every challenge that came, the sleepless nights when grief hit like a wave, the moments of doubt when one of them wondered if they were moving too fast, was met with the same quiet promise: we choose each other, and we choose to keep Ethan's light alive in how we love. 2 years after Ethan's passing, under the same pine trees that had watched them grow up, Ryan got down on one knee and asked Hannah to marry him. She said yes through happy tears, and when they stood at the altar, they placed a single white rose on an empty chair in the front row, for the best friend and brother who had brought them together in the most painful, beautiful way possible. Their first dance was to the song Ethan used to blast in his truck, and as they swayed, Ryan whispered, "He's smiling down on us. I can feel it." Friends, if you're still here with me on this porch as the stars come out, here's the truth I want you to carry with you: life will break your heart in ways you never saw coming. It will test your loyalty, steal your laughter, and leave you standing in the rain wondering if you'll ever feel whole again. But love, real, honest, courageous love, has a way of rising from those ashes if you're brave enough to say yes when the moment comes. Ethan taught us that the greatest promise isn't keeping someone frozen in the past, it's living fully in the future they would have wanted for you. So whatever pain you're carrying right now, whatever question is whispering in your own heart, be strong enough to answer it. Because on the other side of loss is a second chance, waiting for you to reach out and take it. Thank you for sitting with me through this story. I hope it reminded you that you are never truly alone, and that healing is always possible when love leads the way.